Hey everybody, it's JD here for Mad Brothers Media. Today, we have a talented songwriter. This man knows how to work a crowd and he's got a voice like butter. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Sammy J.
Hello, thank you so much for having me today.
So, welcome back to Seattle, not your first time here?
No, this is like this would be my third time. Seattle's one of my favorite places to travel, and I'm not lying because like everyone said, but it's actually one of my favorite places to go in the States when I'm traveling on the road. So it's good to be back. Yeah.
No bias, but the rain doesn't scare you away or nothing?
No, I love it. It reminds me of New Zealand. Like the weather is like green, and it's always kind of raining a little bit, or it's cold a little bit. So it's exactly like back home in New Zealand. So I love it. Yeah.
So, how did you get started in all of this? I know the internet lies to us. It said that something about being working in social work. How do you go from social worker to amazing vocalist?
So basically, so growing up, I come from a family of 6, so we all did music in some capacity or another. And so for me, I always loved music, but it wasn't at the top of my list just because I know how hard it is. And basically, so when I was a social worker, I worked with Polynesia, or Pacific Islanders, and so one of the ways or the mediums to get to kids was to get them interested was through music. So yeah, I incorporated the two, and I was singing backing vocals on the side as well, and then the YouTube clips came, and then it all just got all crazy, and yeah, here I am, basically. Yeah.
So with the style that you chose, I don't believe that Oceania is known for a lot of reggae.
You know, in New Zealand, there's a very, like, especially for, I don't know what you call it, island reggae, if that's what they call it. There's a big following, especially in New Zealand, for that type of music. There's a lot of amazing talent in New Zealand. But I guess because we're so far down at the end of the world, it's like we're in our own little world itself. And so to be able to come out here and to do music, like, it's people back home, like, we just don't, you cannot fathom it. Like, this is pretty big for us. Like, I know it's only like little shows and stuff like that, but it's big for us back home. And so it's really cool to be able to be part of that legacy, like bringing our music over to here. So yeah, it's really cool.
I think New Zealand will get its time. Right now, there's a lot of that K-pop, attention.
Yes.
You know, there's that K-pop. You know what? You're gonna get the Kiwi reggae coming up soon.
I hope so. That'll be cool.
So who are your biggest influences? Like, what really motivated you to just kind of take that leap and get your vocals out there?
I think musically, like, I've always been drawn to a lot more like soul and artists. A lot of the old school. My dad used to always listen to like Sam Cooke and jazz, Ella Fitzgerald, all those kind of music. Like, that was always playing in the background, and so that's where the scatting and all those crazy trills and things, that all comes from that. And I guess, and like me growing up and discovering more music as I got older. The reggae part is a fluke. So one of my YouTube clips, it had like a skank, like a reggae skank, like they're all acoustic. So my first signing, the first label I ever signed to was a label in Hawaii. And so they saw the first clip and they just thought I was a reggae singer. So I signed to them and then I started singing reggae. But obviously my point of difference was always vocals, where I brought the soul and the jazz and all that stuff into it. And so that's basically how my sound, I guess, was formed. So
yeah. I tell you what, it's a hell of a fusion too. I'm a fan of jazz, fan of reggae. I'm a fan of all music, and you definitely bring gold. I gotta ask you, how is it being on tour? I mean, you're away from family and friends. You make new ones.
Yeah.
Do you recognize people as you go around the world? You recognize people that you bump into in multiple shows?
Definitely. So like, especially in certain towns we go to, that we have our families there, that we all, our go-to families. Like here in Seattle, like, we got our own families that we see. They're here tonight. But it is hard, I think, like, especially for me, because I don't have anyone. I literally travel on my own. My manager, he still is based in New Zealand. And so I do everything on my own out here. So it can be scary at times, but I guess that's where I like working with Common Kings, because it is a family-based kind of show, and business and everything they do it's like a family orientated. So I slip in there perfectly over there. Yeah.
I don't hear much in the way of reggae beef between bands, so I think you picked a good genre.
I don't know if there is. I'm yet to encounter it.
It's such a loving style of music.
Yeah.
You really wouldn't expect the beef, and frankly, I'm glad you went with reggae and not emo. That would have just been disappointing.
No, I can't. I'm not about the emo depressed. I want to be happy. When
You seem pretty well balanced.
Yes. I mean, no, I'm not depressed at all. Just happy.
So while you're out here in Seattle, if you're not on stage, what are you doing?
I'm in studio. So basically, if I'm not being Sammy J, I'm working in the studio as a vocal. I don't even know what you call it. I didn't even know there was a name for it. It's a vocal producer, engineer, and then I write songs for other artists as well. So I worked on Common King's new album on the vocal arrangements for their album, and I worked a lot of local bands from America, reggae bands and stuff. I even worked with Dinah Jane from Fifth Harmony a few weeks ago, like just working as a vocal. I don't know what it's called, but I work on vocals, like all the harmonies and yeah, so that's my other job. And I literally will only see the light of day when I'm training, and then I go back into the studio. Yeah, I love it. I'm like, yeah.
You sound like a busy man. I do appreciate your time with us. Sammy J, thanks for coming to Washington again. Please come back.
No, I loved it. Honestly, it's so good to be back. Thank you for having me tonight.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, if you get an opportunity, you have to see this man. Works the crowd, hell of a singer, voice like butter, classy guy. Thanks again for watching. I'm JD from Mad Bros Media with Sammy J, the man himself.
Thanks for having me.
Found the words to say. Now she's smiling back at me, and I had to say, oh. I said, hey, what's your name? Did you come below? Voila! All right. I said, hey, what's your name? I feel like we could do this one more time as an loudest big band. I know we're saving our energy for Common Kings, but let's just give me a minute, okay? So we're gonna let you do a nice and slow. Here we go. I said, hey, what's your name? And did you come along?